How's it going, guys? My name is Zach with the Movie Castle, and today we're going to be looking at Legend of the Swamp Thing Halloween Spectacular. This is a new comic, just came out last week, 48-page giant, 6 tales, rooted in terror. And as you can see, you have Swamp Thing on the front, and he's haunted by all the former avatars of the green. For those of you who aren't super familiar with Swamp Thing's New 52 continuity, Swamp Thing Alec Holland is no longer the first Swamp Thing. You see, there's this force called the green, which is the connection of all plants living on Earth, and every now and then they choose a new human to be their avatar to kind of enact their will on the planet. So there are previous versions of Swamp Thing whenever they need to get a new one. But anyway, start off with credit where credit is due. Let's take a look at the credit page. You see you have 6 stories. At the Heart of Trees, Ring of Stones, Sleeping Giant, No Sign of the Enemy, Age of Discovery, and At the Heart of Man. So At the Heart of Man and At the Heart of Trees, similar titles. That's because they actually connect. So let's jump right in. We're going to be taking a little bit of a look at each story, but no spoilers. So the first story opens up. You get these police officers. This guy had actually lost his son in the swamp. So now when he hears there's another kid missing in the swamp, he's very eager to try and save this kid. And of course, Swamp Thing's there watching in the distance, and he's going to try to find him as well. This story sets up an excuse. Swamp Thing's gonna wind up talking to this tree in the swamp, and that'll give him excuse to tell the next 4 stories. But yeah, police officers trying to save this kid, and Swamp Thing is there as well, and that's At the Heart of Trees. Anyway, moving right along, the next story, this is way back in time, and you actually get Julius Caesar himself, and he's left a group of men stationed way off in the middle of nowhere, and he sent a troop to go and get their help, but they've adopted strange rituals they found in that land, and they don't really belong to Caesar anymore. So these group of guys are up to their own ideas, and that might cause some problems with the band of soldiers sent to go back and get them again. The next story, you get this mill that's opened up, and it's really oppressing the local people. This girl's sister goes missing, and she decides to get some help by going to this cave to awaken an ancient spirit. She gets some help, gets a seed and plants it, and that of course connects her to the green. So she is trying to use the green to save her sister. The other story, well, second to last that they tell without the connecting piece, you get this Japanese soldier from World War II, and he is stranded on this island. None of his other crewmates survived, and the war has been over for a while, and he doesn't know it. He's growing some plants in his shoes, and Swamp Thing uses this opportunity to talk through the plant and try and get him to abandon his mission and go home, trying to convince him that his job is done, but he won't believe the war is over. And from what I gather, this actually did happen to some Japanese soldiers during World War II. Quite a tragedy. That's probably out of the 4 stories the most interesting one, other than the connection piece. This next story, you get this kid who wants to be an adventurer. He wants to go out and explore the world, and he gets on a ship only to find that all the other men are more plunderers than adventurers, and he doesn't like the way they're doing things. Now, they're going to one place, but on their way they discover this island that, even though boats have been through before, it's not been charted. No one knows where this island came from or what's on it, but it appears to be made entirely out of plants. But of course, as you can probably guess, things start to go quite horribly wrong for them, and they are picked off one by a strange and mysterious force. And yeah, it gets pretty bad, although the story does have very beautiful and striking colors in comparison to the dark subject matter. That's pretty cool, the color work there. Now that's the last story that is told in the middle bit. Then we jump back to In the Heart of Man, and you get the little kid that Swamp Thing saved in the beginning, finally going back to the same swamp from earlier and meeting Swamp Thing again. Now this is a new incarnation of Swamp Thing, and the Greens spat him out right there to meet this guy, and he's trying to tell him about his life and all the things he did, and wanting to, know if he was worth saving and what his life was all about. A really deep emotional story, and it's a great connection piece. I'd have to say, between the first one and this, In the Heart of Trees and In the Heart of Man are the best story collectively. Really dark and serious, very deep. Other than that, the one about the Japanese soldier where he's all alone was pretty good. And in this one, you also get some cool art where, time has passed and you see a silhouette of Swamp Thing with art and text inside of it. So that's a cool way to explain his life there. But yeah, very good story. Now, there are a few things with this Halloween Spectacular. So first and foremost, the stories are only 8 pages long, so not really something to get super invested in each time. You go in, you read the story, you kind of get something good out of it, then it moves on. So if you don't like that kind of pace, just know that going in. Another thing with this is the Legend of the Swamp Thing, Halloween Spectacular. Some of these stories have a horror element, and they're all at least somewhat dark, but it is not a Halloween Spectacular. None of the stories take place on Halloween. I don't think they ever say the word Halloween in here. And although the stories are dark, very few of them are actually horror, So if you go in and you want Swamp Thing to be, messing with pumpkins and fighting cool monsters, not always the case. And, it's not really a Halloween Spectacular. It really should be called Swamp Thing's Adventures Through Time, but I don't think that would have sold as well, especially if it's Halloween time. You put Halloween on some darker stories and you say it's a Halloween special, even though it's really not. And the third thing that's kind of a flaw with this is Swamp Thing actually does kill a ton of people. Now, Alec Holland Swamp Thing does not, and really Alec Holland Swamp Thing's the only one that it really tries not to do that, tries not to kill people. So I guess it's an excuse that, these older Swamp Things kind of meaner, they'll do stuff like that. But at the same time, if you don't want your protagonist to be killing a bunch of people, not necessarily going to be the best book for you, because the old Swamp Things have no problem with killing. But Alec Holland doesn't, so that's something. There's the back, DC, a hand with vines coming out of a lake, and DC reflected in the bottom. Overall, pretty cool. quite a bit of pages for $5.99, 48 pages. So overall, a fun, spectacular, but not really Halloween-y, and you gotta know going into that each of these stories are only about 8 pages. So if you know its flaws, it's pretty fun. Not the Halloween-y thing, but a fun Swamp Thing story. And I actually really like Swamp Thing. I don't think he has a book running right now, so it's good to see the character again, you know, every once in a while. Overall, good. Not the best thing ever, but definitely worth checking out. I think they, this week, put out an 80-page Halloween spectacular. I forgot what it's called, but I'll probably be covering that next week. Anyway, I do primarily horror movies on this channel, so if that sounds like something you're interested in, I'd recommend checking that out. But for everyone who's watched so far, thank you for watching. To everyone who's liked and subscribed, thank you. You really are helping the channel out. I do a comic a week on here as well, so I'd recommend sticking around for that. And I'll put a comics playlist down at the bottom. Anyway, have a good day, and I'll see you guys again very, very soon.